So, so being a therapist and working with um, the population is young men transitioning from transitioning into adulthood. Um, and we talked about the maladaptive behaviors that kind of protected them during childhood. What would you say? Would you say that you see them kind of like having difficulty in showing up in their relationships now because of the maladaptive like attachment styles?
Sure, yeah. I think like transitional periods in our life are just inherently like difficult and anxiety provoking.
Yeah,
Like first and
yeah,
foremost.
yeah,
Um and in college particularly, like you throw like so many layers on top of it,
yeah,
where um you've just gone through um like this period where like maybe in high school, like it was pretty easy to make friends because
yeah.
you're in class with all the same people at all the same times. And
Hmm.
um in college those relationships look like very different.
Yeah,
um and that can like bring up some like insecurity, or maybe some loneliness, or um maybe just a new understanding of yourself, that like maybe you aren't as like social as you thought you once were.
yeah,
And then what I see often is just an inability for us as men to describe like how we're feeling. Like I hear like, I just feel off, or
yeah,
like I can't really explain it, or I how should I put it, like I don't want to take up too much space.
yeah.
um
It's always like kind of like a burden thing
yeah.
when when it comes to emotions or just like um we talked with Dr. Ricketts about like just having like normal humanity. Like I feel like men feel like their normal like sense of humanity and like that emotional aspect is a burden or they shouldn't have that. So then that might lead to like that shame piece where they are like, I this is like a burden. So like going like seeking help, they might like seek help, but they're just like, oh, but it's no big deal.
Right,
Or like they
yeah.
might try to be vulnerable, but it's like, oh, but it's like it's no big deal.
Yeah,
So
yeah, a lot of just like minimizing, like my problems aren't as bad as somebody else's. But um with like the college population specifically, it's like, no dude, like you're on the precipice of like a lot of like big shit in life, right? Like
yeah.
you're figuring out relationships, you're figuring out like what your career's going to be. Like it'd be
Mhm.
weird if like you weren't anxious and overwhelmed by those things.
Yeah.
um and you don't have to just like keep throwing stuff in the proverbial backpack and just have it getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's what I see a lot of dudes trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like that transition from high school or like from primary school to college is pivotal, and it kind of I feel like it triggers a lot of things that men or young men haven't really dealt with in their like high school or middle school. So that like that transition kind of triggers a lot of attachment patterns, whether it's like the anxious for me it was like more of the like freshman year, it was more like the anxious, like developing new friendships and it's like, is this person like going to not reject me, or like are they like are we hanging, how often are we hanging out? So it's kind of like is that, and then there's like the like some of the like avoidance can be triggered with like maybe like in high school um you didn't have secure friendships or secure relationships, so when you experience that in college it's like it feels weird, so you kind of like pull back in
Mm-hmm.
a way. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel that there's like kind of two sides of that coin when it comes to transitioning into adulthood. When really it's not like, when it comes to attachment, I um I w- I would like argue against like calling yourself weird or like just not normal. It's just, I would say like everybody is kind of, especially like in those transition seasons, everyone is developing their like identity and their sense of how they want to relate to other people. And sometimes like I feel like a lot of times it just needs to be it's more about learning new ways to connect and learning like new healthy ways to connect. And when you meet someone that's like more secure than you, that it's like it's kind of everything. It helps to have someone that's more secure and has like a secure relational pattern, so that that kind of not like that you're being fixed, because it's not like you shouldn't look at it as like men look at things as being fixed, but
Right.
that you learn something new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Like
Yeah.
I do think like some of this stuff is just normal. Like it's a normal part of like how we develop as humans.
Mm.
Like in high school or even early college, like it might be developmentally normal to just be like a little bit like anxious about
Mm.
relationships. Um so I do think like to your point, I think that you were making is like part of this is just like a normal process of like maturation.
Yeah.
Um And if you're like noticing these like habitual patterns in your relationships, then there might be some of this going on.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just grow out of you.
Mm.
Um, that needs to be changed with like intention and awareness and different ways of showing up in relationship.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of men can have that like sense of pride of this is how I've always been. Like like I don't need to learn like anything new, because we can be get so like have a false sense of security in the way that we're relating to people, that we feel that it's the only way because maybe it's like our culture or family background.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's like it's not, sometimes like what we've learned isn't always the healthiest thing. And I think college or like post high school is an opportunity to learn new ways of connecting with people. And for me personally, it was more about like having that balance between closeness and autonomy. And that like that helped me to feel more secure, because before I would always like feel that like a friendship or relationship um isn't healthy because like we were kind of distant in one season. So like going to coming to college kind of helped reframe that, and like reframe that because like high school you see people like every day, like you
Right.
see
Yeah.
like the same people like every day. And like college is like a more varied, like sometimes you might see one person like one day and like maybe you might see them like in a few days. It's like very is varied. So I think having that like balance kind of changes, forces you to change your attachment style in a way. But also for me, like I need to be like intentional about my own patterns, and I think that takes a lot of like you said, like awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. The I sound like a broken record, but like awareness is half the battle. Just if nothing else, to shake us out of like the autopilot response that we
Yeah.
typically go into. Because again, this is stuff that's almost been like hardwired into our nervous system.
Yeah.
So it is like reactionary. But if your brain is aware of it, you can kind of slow down that nervous system response enough to start to do something different. And then that's where new neural pathways start to develop. And like anything, it is like doing reps in the gym.
Yeah.
These are, again, these are like skills. So they are things that we develop over time. Um, and yeah, it starts with awareness. Um, I think the next step on top of that for men especially would just be like building some sort of emotional vocabulary, and it
Hmm.
doesn't even have like doesn't have to be 200 like feeling words, but even just like 6 to 10.
I feel like
um
yeah, I would like say like for men, as far as like emotional vocabulary, um I would like say like develop your language of how you express emotions, because everyone expresses them differently. Like for me, um, like it can just be like even just saying like I feel gloomy today or whatever,
Right.
and that means something to you. It might not mean something to someone else.
Yeah,
So
and it really doesn't matter. Like the intention behind it is like regulating rather than shutting down.
yeah,
Like naming, even if like the other person can't necessarily understanding it, just naming it for yourself and
yeah,
having a word for this feeling that
the
you're feeling
language, yeah.
will regulate your nervous system, as opposed to like, I'm just feeling off and
Yeah.
I'm just going to be shut down.
Because like, what does that mean? You have to like, because like, what does like feeling off mean? And I feel like because of like they don't have the language, they're and they become disconnected from that experience because they don't know what it means. And I feel like on the other hand, I feel like sometimes men might become like intimidated, like if they go to like a therapist and they have like the like we mentioned like the emotions wheel.
Right. Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing, but they might like feel like intimidated by like all the various emotions. But it's really just more like a personal experience. It's more about not denying what you feel, but like what does it mean to you that you feel that way? Um, so how would you say that attachment styles show up for men if we haven't went over it?
Um, yeah, I feel like we've, yeah, I feel like we've went over
We went
that.
over it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I'm looking at it, it says like avoidant behaviors get praised. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like a reinforcement thing, where those like avoidance, some of the avoidant behaviors, like being independent and like saying that you don't need anyone. I've seen it a lot. Um, is actually it's actually kind of like reinforced by like certain cultural standards in a way.
Yeah.
So that like avoidances, and also on the other side, like the anxiousness, which shows up as like irritability and like lashing out, is also like reinforced. Like that Hulk strong, like you lashed out, you protect this, is shown up, um, and it's also reinforced. So like I think like attachment is saying like, yeah, like this, the anger is healthy, yeah, like the distance is healthy, but there needs to be a balance to it, and there needs to be like, you can't just be like one way. um so yeah, and the next point is, what are some common misconceptions that men have about attachment?
Um, yeah, that it, I think the ones that I see are like writing it off as like, no, like my parents did a fine job raising me,
Yeah.
or um, feeling like that it's like a deficit or a
Yeah,
criticism. Again, like the all this is just like a pattern,
like, what are you saying
and
about me?
yeah, and patterns can change. Um, and then yeah, like I think the simplest underscoring of it is like your emotions aren't like weak or wrong or
Yeah,
unmanly.
yeah, and it's, I'm seeing like the neediness. Um I feel like that men don't want to be seen as like needy in terms of relationships, that they don't want to be seen as like reliant on other people. I feel like that like self-reliance piece can be sort of like a, I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism, but it's like, well, as a man, I don't like need to like rely emotionally on other people for like what I'm going through. But um for me personally, I realized that like coming to college actually made me realize that I actually need that support or like that reliance, because um when I first came to college, it was just like my roommate tried to like help me with like things, and it was like moving in or whatever, and I was like, no, you're not helping me move in. But he's like, no, I'm going to help you. And that like kind of like forced me to kind of step outside of that like avoidance piece, because like initially I was like super avoidant when it came to like asking for help. Like I never liked people to ask me for help. I was like,
Sure, yeah.
I got everything under control. Like, you don't need to ask me for help. But my roommate kind of like changed that. He kind of like forced help on me, like just and also like my other friends too, like kind of like forced help on me, which is a blessing. But I feel that like when people kind of mirror that healthy attachment, it kind of forces you to go like, wait a second, I've learned like my whole life this thing. Do I really need to hang on to this narrative?
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, it's not just about like when we talk about attachment, it's not just about like just emotions. I feel like that's another misconception. It's not just about like, oh, we're just gonna talk about your feelings. Like, no, this is about like how you can like better yourself in terms of your relationships. Because I feel like men care a lot about their relationships. We're just not really given the courage or like the language or like the space to talk about that we care about relationships and attachment. Like having the going through like attachment theory helps men to have to say like it's okay to care about your like your family or your relationships, and that you want to show it better. Because I feel like men like secretly care about it, but they don't, like that's not like a common thing to talk about. It's like how you're doing in your relationships. So, oh yeah, it's the wrong page. Um, so how can men start healing their attachment wounds?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I started to go down this
Oh, did
road
you
like
have
a
something
little.
else to say?
No, no, no.
Okay.
I was starting to go down this road preemptively, but yeah, I view it as like, um, one, that awareness piece, um, two, the emotional vocabulary piece,
Mm,
just coming up with, yeah, feelings, words for your emotional experience. Um, Seeking out relationships that like feel secure, and
yeah.
like this is a big one, and like you've touched on it numerous times throughout, like sharing your own experience of like, at the end of the day, like we're mammals like interacting with other mammals, and like
Mm,
I'm sure everybody can think of like somebody in their lives who just like puts like a pit in their stomach.
yeah.
um
Yeah.
like just makes you anxious to be around them, right?
Yeah.
Like that's attachment
Yeah.
popping up. So learning to pay attention to just kind of like how other people make us feel, not
Mm.
emotionally, just like on like a primal like nervous system level.
Yeah.
um and being aware of that.
Yeah.
And then on the other like side of the coin, like being aware of like, oh, like this person like makes me feel calm, and it's
Yeah.
like it's actually like a little bit easier to
Yeah.
open up with them. I think that's a big one. And then using those relationships to take small steps of vulnerability.
Yeah.
um Sharing a little bit more about your day, or asking your male friend how he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
we shy away from like asking that question because it elicits a potentially sad response, and then we don't
Yeah.
know what to do
So we
with
don't
it.
know how to like we don't know how to be a witness to someone in their messiness.
Um,
So
so yeah, like that would be like just quick thing or things you could do starting today, like pretty
yeah.
immediately. Um, and then like if anything's resonated, or you don't feel like you have a safe relationship with which to practice this, might be time to start thinking about therapy.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that can be like such a great healthy relationship, um that is safe and confidential, um to start dipping your toe into understanding your own attachment style, and then how to improve your relationships through everything that we've talked about today.
And therapy is like it's not like people think therapy is just is one modality. It's like many, like when I in my clinical and mental health class, we went through like a lot of like different. There's just, like so many different therapies. So people think therapy is just like, oh, I'm just gonna sit down and talk about my thoughts and feelings, but like a lot of therapy for me was like a lot of like psychoeducation and like just learning new things about myself and about the world. I feel like I learned a lot in therapy. Um, you mentioned that like that social support piece. Um, for me, it was like it was quite hard initially to open up because my roommate like he's very like open and like very um he's like kind of like he models that like openness and being open to talk about things. Initially I was okay, what is this guy trying to like do? Like why are we talking about like how I feel? Because like I'm not like about to talk about how I feel. But um he like he like sat me down, like we kind of had a conversation, and he's like, yeah, I noticed that you kind of like tend to pull away when we talk about like things that you're going through. And I was like, yeah, I never like had like to I said to me it feels weird to have someone be interested in things that I'm kind of like wrestling with. And that like feeling weird was kind of like I would say this more, I guess, like the avoidance, because like I didn't like have like that male person to kind of be interested in what I'm wrestling with. So to him, like what he was doing was just so normal. To me, it was more like foreign, and I had to kind of adapt that attachment. I see like attachment as more of like adapting to new situations and new things, so you can like grow yourself. Um, I like this message. It says attachment style is a starting point, not a life sentence. So I relate to that a lot. Um, Do you have anything else you wanted to add, or do you have like?
Yeah,
Do
no.
we need like a second episode?
Yeah, like
Yeah, because there's like so much
ultimately,
here.
like this is something that I could like ramble on endlessly about.
Yeah.
Um, but I appreciate like just the platform to like introduce the idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure I know we were kind of like maybe all over the place today, but
Yeah.
that is just because attachment has a thread through a
Connection to
lot
this is a
in
connection
it.
to a lot of
Yeah.
aspects of life.
Um, and yeah, I'd be happy to continue to talk about it in any
If
way,
you,
shape, or form.
yeah, we should definitely like have like future episodes relating to attachment. So like for the listeners, I would say like just because like you have like a certain attachment, you lean like avoidant or anxious is not like you're not always going to be that way. There's always like opportunity for growth, especially like if you're young, or if you're like a young man and trying to like kind of like develop your relationships and get better at it. I would say that you're not like it's not you, just because you have one, it doesn't mean like that's the end. So like let this podcast be an encouragement to you that you can change your attachment style and have more secure relationships. So,
Yeah, I should have looked up the author, but there's a great book on this called Attached,
mm,
and I really like it because it starts with kind of like an assessment of what your attachment style might be,
yeah.
um, which one just helps with that awareness piece for yourself and just like all of the many things that contribute to our attachment style.
Mm,
And then all the subsequent chapters are um, given your attachment style, um, how do you navigate relationships with other attachment styles? So, like,
yeah.
how do two avoidants relate to one another
Mm,
versus like an avoidant and an anxious?
yeah,
So,
that's
if
very
you're finding
interesting.
yourself in a partnership or in a friendship where you're in habitual patterns of similar types of conflict,
Hmm.
that would be a really great resource for people as a jumping off point into this world of attachment.
This really That was really interesting. So So we're gonna definitely gonna wrap up. Do you have any like other things to add?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah, so
Micah.
this was awesome. I definitely learned a lot, and definitely like check out that attached book and check out the Platonic book by Marissa Franco.